Secretary of State Alexander Haig reading from a letter he sent President Reagan today.
In recent months, it has become clear to me that the foreign policy on which we embarked together was shifting from that careful course which we laid out. Under these circumstances, I feel it necessary to request that you accept my resignation.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw in New York, Roger Mudd in Washington, and commentary by John Chancellor.
Good evening. The vicar of American foreign policy, Alexander Haig, resigned today as Secretary of State. President Reagan said he would appoint as Haig's replacement former Nixon Treasury Secretary George Shultz, who had been Mr. Reagan's first choice during the transition. This was the administration's first major defection, and it caught Washington totally unaware. The president refused to answer questions about it and then left town for the weekend at Camp David. Haig himself was circumspect. Here are two reports, beginning with Judy Woodruff.
With little more than 15 minutes' notice, the president came to the White House briefing room to make the surprise announcement.
Regarding a member of our administration who has served me so well and faithfully, whose wisdom and counsel I have respected and admired for all the time that our administration has been here. And with great regret, I have accepted the resignation of Secretary of State Al Haig.
The president looked pale and shaken as he took the unusual step of refusing to give any explanation for Haig's departure. Nor did he comment a little later when he left for Camp David. But White House aides say Haig made the resignation offer in person yesterday, followed up by a letter today. For several months, aides have talked of increasing friction between Haig, seen here 2 days ago, and the president's national security assistant, William Clark, in addition to Haig's already known differences with Secretary of Defense Weinberger. Haig was away in New York a week ago, meeting with the Soviet foreign minister, when Clark scheduled a meeting at the White House, which led to a presidential decision to make it more difficult for U.S. allies to do business with the Soviets. It was a move that Haig had argued strenuously against, but it is said to be only one of a series of developments that contributed to his alienation from other presidential aides and from the president himself. Now that Haig is gone, there is very little unhappiness here at the White House, where Haig's prickly personality and what some aides called emotional instability had won him very few allies. Judy Woodruff, NBC News, the White House.
When Secretary Haig walked into the department's largest auditorium, the staffers there gave him a standing ovation. His resignation letter to the president did not shed much light on the reasons behind his decision.
We agreed that consistency, clarity, and steadiness of purpose were essential to success. It was in this spirit that I undertook to serve you as Secretary of State. In recent months, it has become clear to me that the foreign policy on which we embarked together was shifting from that careful course which we laid out.
Those words apparently suggest that Haig thought he was being overruled too often on decisions which affected the making and conduct of U.S. policy abroad. It is known that Haig does not share the president's opposition to building a natural gas pipeline from the Soviet Union into Western Europe. That may have been a factor. Others point to his disagreements with ranking members of the administration, sometimes public disagreements. But whatever the specific cause of the resignation was, the secretary kept it to himself today. Steve Delaney, NBC News at the State Department.
On Capitol Hill, most Republicans spoke quietly, not wanting to add to the administration's embarrassment about losing its most prominent cabinet secretary. They also were quick to say nice things about the incoming secretary, George Shultz. Huh?
Haig's successor, Shultz, was in London when the news broke in Washington, and returning from dinner tonight, Shultz spoke briefly with NBC News.
Are you going to have anything to say here tomorrow?
No, I'm not. Nothing.
In Washington?
I don't think so. I think this is my moment for silence. Thank you.
Can you at least tell us when you first were approached?
I think that all can come from the White House. This is all. It's very sudden for me. I was talk to today. But I'll just be quiet now. Thank you.
Although today's news was unexpected, the choice of Shultz for Secretary of State is not surprising. He's been mentioned for this job before. Indeed, Shultz is so highly regarded that his name comes up whenever a top job opens in a Republican administration. Irving R. Levine has covered Shultz for a number of years. He has prepared this profile.
Shultz, an economist, came to the Nixon administration from the University of Chicago and served at the Labor Department as Labor Secretary, then as Budget Director, finally as Treasury Secretary. After 5 years, longer than any other Nixon cabinet member, Shultz left just before the Nixon resignation to become president of the Bechtel Construction Company, using his contacts around the world to get jobs for the company, including in Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries. During the Reagan campaign, Shultz was a frequent advisor, and he was widely thought to be in line for Secretary of State. Shultz apparently turned down the post and became chairman of a part-time board of economic advisors to the president. A hint of a bigger role came when Shultz was sent to Europe to scout the views of the leaders President Reagan would be meeting with at the Versailles Economic Summit. Those who have worked with and covered Shultz find sharp contrast with Alexander Haig. Shultz has a knack for getting along even with natural adversaries. As a Republican Labor Secretary, he often played golf with the late AFL-CIO President George Meany. Shultz is direct in his speech and in his dealings with people. And finally, Shultz avoids publicity and the limelight. Irving R. Levine, NBC News, Washington.
Our diplomatic correspondent Marvin Kalb is with me now to discuss what this means for the direction of American foreign policy and what brought it about. Marvin, we're all hearing a great deal about the clash of personalities in the administration. Do you think that was a major factor?
Tom, that probably was a major factor, and it blends in with turf. There have been a lot of stories about growing friction between Haig and National Security Advisor Clark. And Haig told a visitor to his office yesterday that he felt increasingly cornered by a troika consisting of Vice President Bush, Chief of Staff James Baker, and Clark. He felt very strongly that Clark should not have met with the Saudi Arabian ambassador just this past week because Haig felt this was sending mixed signals about American policy to the Middle East. He felt this was behind his back maneuvering. He resented it. He told the president, but he didn't win.
Big change in American foreign policy now?
I don't know if it'll be a big change, but certainly in the Middle East, one could expect some kind of significant change. Haig was probably in this administration odd man out in terms of his sympathy for Israel's concerns. The new Secretary of State is a man who, as we just heard, who has had a great deal of business in the Arab world, but there's no evidence exactly what Shultz's point of view is, but the Israelis are probably the most unhappy people tonight.
Thank you, Marvin Kalb. We'll have more, by the way, on Secretary Haig's resignation later in this program, and tonight NBC News will have a special report at 11:30, 10:30 Central Time.
No home, no matter how clean, is safe from invasion by the common cockroach. And for everyone you can see, there may be hundreds more you can't see. But you do have a weapon, Terminix. Our professionals place a chemical shield of protection throughout your home that kills bugs where they get in, where they hide, where they breed. Terminix. We protect your home against bugs, safely, scientifically.
Is that the new Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes you just got?
Yeah.
How come you haven't sent it in?
Who are you kidding? It's just a big come on.
That's what I used to think.
I've got more important things to do.
That's what I used to think.
Me? I haven't got a chance.
That's what we used to think.
You know that new Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes you just got? What's your reason for not sending it in? Lots of Clearinghouse winners used to think that too. Come on, send it in.
At the request of the Reagan administration, Israel announced a ceasefire for Lebanon this afternoon, but no one is sure whether it is working or how long it will last. The ceasefire came after Israeli Defense Minister Sharon told his forces the PLO was nearly destroyed and that Syria had lost its grip on Lebanon. Steve Mallory, who's been reporting on the receiving end of the Beirut bombing and shelling, is with us again tonight.
The sound is terrifying.
Israeli gunboats pound residential areas in central Beirut. No military positions here. The frightened run from the area or hide in basement car parks for hours. One is an American businessman.
They're hitting all these residential buildings. Why? They're not hitting out here where the Syrians are. They're hitting these residential buildings. Why? They're much better shots than that.
The gunboats shell throughout the night and day. The Israeli warplanes shower bombs on Palestinian and Lebanese Muslim areas. The leader of the Muslim Druze community says the Palestinians are finished, but an honorable solution can't be worked out because the Israelis keep bombarding, not giving anyone time to talk.
I have doubts that we would be able to achieve this honorable surrender because of the Israeli policy that is going to lead us to a general massacre of Beirut, including Lebanese and Palestinians.
The Israeli bombing never seems to stop. The same for the casualty toll. At the Berber Hospital on the predominantly Muslim side of the city, Dr. Amal Shama, a United States citizen.
I have an American passport and I'm not proud of it.
Most of the Lebanese believe the fighting will continue. Many blame the United States. Without some honorable solution to the crisis, the Palestinians will continue to fight.
First of all, nobody can squeeze me to surrender. And I don't like to repeat this word. I am here to fight and to win.
The Israeli warplanes devastated this Lebanese Muslim area of Beirut. People pick through what used to be their home and leave, taking what they can. Israeli fighter bombers are heard overhead, and the people are terrified. Scenes like these have been repeated over and over again for weeks. No one knows what is or isn't a target. The people keep running, moving, searching for another place to hide, to survive. Steve Mallory, NBC News, Beirut.
The fighting today also continued to the east of Beirut along the Syrian front. The Israelis severed the crucial Beirut-Damascus highway. Jack Reynolds reports.
There have been several ceasefires between the Israelis and the Syrians. None have held. The Israelis have taken every opportunity to push the Syrians back with artillery and airstrikes. The major fighting has been along a key road link leading into Beirut. Covered by air and artillery, the Israelis moved their armor and troops into position.
This is the main Damascus-Beirut highway. On our way up here, one Israeli officer said, "We don't waste men on targets like this. We have other ways to do it."
This is the way they proceeded to do it. Massive artillery bombardment. A Syrian tank was hit. Its ammunition continued to explode long after the tank was destroyed. The Israelis control the high ground to the right of the highway. The Syrian positions are on the left. There was small arms fire for a while, then silence. When the Israelis felt it was safe, they moved up their tanks and armored personnel carriers. Troops fanned out along the road. Sappers went ahead of the tanks looking for mines. The column advanced towards its next objective, the town of LA, where the Syrians and Palestinians are bottled up. LA controls the high ground which overlooks the rest of the Beirut-Damascus highway, and more importantly, the strategic Bekaa Valley, the last important Syrian position in Lebanon. Jack Reynolds, NBC News, on the Beirut-Damascus highway.
Long ago, a chosen brave signaled the corn harvest, so essential to my people. Today, corn is essential to Mazola 100% corn oil margarine. Mazola is made from 100% pure corn oil, so Mazola has no cholesterol, naturally. And a flavor that's pure, fresh, and delicious, naturally. Taste the golden goodness of Mazola 100% corn oil margarine.
Mazola, corn goodness.
What makes the taste of Paul Masson Chablis worth a little more? Time and care. It's worth waiting for the right time to pick our grapes to make a Chablis that's smooth and flavorful. It's worth handling our grapes with extra care to make a Chablis that's consistently delicious. Time and care. Two ingredients that make the taste of Paul Masson Chablis worth a little more. Paul Masson said it nearly a century ago. We will sell no wine before it's time.
Are you a saltaholic? Do you think most everything needs salt? Then you're a saltaholic. Like most Americans, you eat more than 20 times the salt your body needs. Now, with new No Salt, you can have the flavor of salt without salt. No Salt tastes like salt, but there's no salt in No Salt. You can shake No Salt, cook with No Salt, No Salt, and shake the salt habit.
The Supreme Court today sharply curbed the authority of local school boards to ban books from school libraries. The landmark decision split the court on a 5-4 vote, and Chief Justice Warren Burger, speaking for the minority, called the ruling a startling erosion of the power of local school boards. Carl Stern reports.
At a suburban school district in Levittown, New York, 9 books were removed from the school libraries, including Eldridge Cleaver's Soul on Ice and Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-5. The school board, using a list it obtained at a conservative political conference, described the books as anti-American, anti-Christian, anti-Semitic, and just plain filthy. But today, the Supreme Court ruled for the first time that school children have a constitutional right to receive ideas, all ideas. Justices Stevens, Marshall, and Brennan said only pervasively vulgar or educationally unsuitable materials could be removed. They were joined by Justices White and Blackmun, who had some reservations but went along with the decision. 4 dissenting justices warned that if judges can tell school boards what to put in libraries, they'll be ordering them next what to teach in classrooms. A former student who brought the suit was Stephen Pico.
It's a fantastic decision. Anyone that respects the First Amendment and the free flow of ideas is overjoyed today.
But school board members said they were dismayed.
This is definitely a defeat today. It's a sad day in this country for local control.
The case will now go back to the trial court to determine whether the books were removed for vulgarity, which is an acceptable reason, or for the views they contain, which the Supreme Court said is not an acceptable reason. Carl Stern, NBC News, Washington.
Lost in the frenzy of the Hague resignation today was the fact that the president vetoed for the second day in a row a supplemental appropriations bill. The bill was still $1 billion more than the president wanted. On Monday, the Senate will try again with a third version.
Paladin presents Martha Ray, comedienne, denture wearer.
Getting that big laugh takes something extra. And getting my denture sparkling clean takes something extra. Extra strength Paladin Green. Watch, tough lab stains. Now, extra strength Paladin. It's fantastic. Gets tough stains clean, even in between. So take it from a big mouth. Extra strength Paladin Green gets tough stains clean.
Come on over to the right light, Del Monte Light. People like it better. Get the flavor of a bright light. Bright light. Del Monte Light.
More and more people are switching to light fruit, and more are deciding Del Monte Light tastes the best. No artificial flavors or sweeteners, just fresh peach taste bursting through.
Come on over to the bright light, Del Monte Light.
And cut! Print it. With my job, I can't afford to get tense from too much caffeine, so a friend told me something that made good sense.
Ah, got time for a coffee break?
Here he is. He told me about Sanka brand decaffeinated coffee.
I told him Sanka's 100% real coffee.
That is good.
And 97% caffeine-free.
That's even better.
Sanka decaffeinated coffee. Good coffee that makes good sense.
The city of brotherly love was the scene of sibling rivalry today as the Democratic presidential hopefuls gathered in Philadelphia for their mini convention. Ken Bodie reports.
Most of the unofficial activity at this conference centers around the potential presidential candidates. They spend their days and nights getting around Philadelphia in the most visible possible ways. Walter Mondale has more than 100 staff members here to help him meet the right delegates. Kennedy says more than 200 of these delegates were for him in 1980. Others, like Reuben Askew, start behind, but these are considered to be influential Democrats, and it's worth getting their names for 1984.
It doesn't matter if Ronald Reagan is the greatest communicator in history, if all he has to communicate is division and despair and depression.
The main order of business here is Ronald Reagan.
If this administration actually believes that throwing people out of work is part of the cure, then we'll be happy to give them a dose of their own medicine in 1984.
Most emotional moment of the opening day came when the party's vice chair, Lynn Cutler, spoke about the ERA.
We will make the dream a reality!
This is what they call an official spontaneous demonstration. ERA symbolized the theme of the conference, with fairness for all. Ken Bodie, NBC News, Philadelphia.
NASA scientists say a huge cloud from a Mexican volcano will bring an early and colder winter to the northern hemisphere. The cloud formed when El Chichinal volcano erupted in early April. Scientists say it is now reducing the amount of sunlight reaching the Earth by 5 to 10%. And passengers aboard a British Airways 747 flying over Java to Australia had a terrible scare as a result of a volcano. As the airliner flew through a thick cloud of ashes from an erupting volcano, all the engines went dead, and the plane fell from 25,000 to 11,000 feet for 12 minutes before the pilot could get the engines restarted. Many of the passengers said later they were certain they were going to die. During the crisis, the pilot, with typical British reserve, the pilot announced, "We are in a spot of bother."
Honey, I've been thinking.
Uh-oh.
Come on, I've got a lot to thank you for.
Oh, really?
Really? When I stopped smoking, when I had to lose those 20 pounds, when I cut down on fats, cholesterol, and you made it all so easy.
For years, Dick and Ann have followed a low-fat, low-cholesterol diet, and Fleischmann's margarine has been a part of it. Fleischmann's margarine, 100% corn oil, 0% cholesterol.
And you're terrific.
Guess what? I got a job.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I look like the mature beginner.
Oh, stop it, Nick.
No, the women there seem half my age.
Let me tell you a secret. Oil of Olay. I've used it for years. Even my Jack noticed a difference.
What did he say?
He said my skin was silky.
Well, it is.
But it wasn't always. You should try Oil of Olay, Meg. It really works.
Oh, good. Because I start on Monday.
Good friends share the secret of Oil of Olay.
Of all the breakfast cereals on the market today, over 100 of them altogether, only a very few are high nutrition cereals. Buckwheats is one of them. And among the high nutrition cereals, only Buckwheats has a great touch of honey taste.
Mmm, nice touch.
So, for high nutrition and great taste, try Buckwheats, the only high nutrition cereal with a touch of honey taste.
The resignation of Secretary of State Alexander Haig raises a lot of questions, especially in an administration which has been accused of having a formless foreign policy. In his commentary tonight, John Chancellor takes a look at some of these questions. John?
The main question about the Secretary's resignation is, was he pushed or did he jump? He has threatened to leave before, and it's possible that he threatened again this week and had his bluff called. But it's also hard to believe that Alexander Haig would quit in the middle of a crisis, and there are many in government who believe that Israel's attacks on Beirut have created a crisis for the American government. In addition to that, new talks with the Soviets on nuclear arms begin next week. In addition to that, some European allies are saying Mr. Reagan told them one thing in Europe about dealing with Moscow on the gas pipeline, and then did something else when he got home. The resignation could not have come at a worse time. The foreign policy of the Reagan administration has not had, in the eyes of its critics, the consistency, clarity, and steadiness of purpose to which Haig referred today. The change at the State Department will take some time to have an effect, good or bad. One thing to remember, the new Secretary of State, George Shultz, is a great friend and former business partner of Defense Secretary Weinberger. There is talk in Washington tonight about a Shultz-Weinberger alliance in foreign policy, which may be much tougher on Israel. And one final point. As Marvin Kalb has pointed out, Haig was never a member of the Reagan inner circle. He was, on the other hand, perceived as moderate in his policies when compared to the conservative ideologues Mr. Reagan has appointed to senior positions. George Shultz is no crazed right-winger, but when he takes over the State Department, the administration will have moved more toward the right. Roger?
It is probably not possible to have as many critics and enemies as Alexander Haig had and still survive in Washington for very long. Richard Valeriani recounts the long-running feud Haig has had with the city.
From the time he was nominated and went through stormy confirmation hearings over his role as President Nixon's loyal chief of staff during the final days of Watergate, Alexander Haig has been one of the most controversial figures in the Reagan administration. On the day of Reagan's inauguration, Haig gave the new president a blueprint for making foreign policy, with most of the authority centered in the State Department. Reagan aides saw Haig's move as a power grab and rejected it. The image of Haig as a man hungry for power was cast indelibly into history on the day Mr. Reagan was shot.
As of now, I am in control here in the White House.
Haig never really lived that down. But he went through ups and downs in succeeding months, as reflected in newspaper headlines. He complained publicly when Vice President Bush was named the administration's foreign crisis manager in a move designed as a deliberate rebuff to Haig by White House aides. Policy and personality differences sparked feuds between Haig and former National Security Affairs Advisor Richard Allen, Secretary of Defense Caspar Weinberger, UN Ambassador Jeane Kirkpatrick, and more recently, Judge William Clark. Mrs. Kirkpatrick voiced a criticism that has been consistently leveled against Haig by conservatives, that he was too quick to accommodate European views toward the Russians, meaning soft European views. Despite his bureaucratic problems, Haig seemed to have gradually gained the upper hand over foreign policy, and he was even able to joke about his troubles.
And I explained to the president that what he didn't know, that it was my college football experience that taught me the teamwork that has carried me so well in this administration.
During the president's recent trip to Europe, Haig was the principal U.S. spokesman. But Reagan aides were annoyed when Haig tried to change a UN vote on Argentina without even informing the president. Only last month, a prominent columnist wrote that Haig is surrounded by problems these days, as usual. But for some reason, he seems even more confident about the future. Today, that confidence came to an abrupt end. Richard Valeriani, NBC News, Washington.
That's Nightly News for Friday. I'm Roger Mudd in Washington.
And I'm Tom Brokaw in New York. Good night for all of us at NBC News.
Secretary of State Haig resigns. An NBC News special report tonight at 11:30, 10:30 Central.
Friday, here come the James Boys.
John Travolta, keep your heart out.
In a heartwarming comedy. Then Megan's life is threatened after she witnesses a bizarre execution on Chicago Story. And Jim is caught in the crossfire between masked robbers and angry victims on McClane's Law. Comedy, action, adventure, Friday.
Coming up in just a minute on The Scene at 6, President Reagan okays a White House task force recommendation giving Meharry access to Veterans Hospital in Murfreesboro. And the mother of a man accused of gunning down a family in Columbia says her son is innocent.
Also in the news tonight, another wish may come true for the family of a teenager critically ill with Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And Sharon Puckett talks with the stars of Little House on the Prairie.
These stories and more news coming up on The Scene at 6.
Imitation dairy products in my cooking? Horrors. But how do you tell real dairy foods from imitations? Check the ingredient list or check for the real seal. It tells you at a glance.